Sweet, fresh meat.
I told the others, they didn't believe me. You're all doomed. You're all doomed! On today's episode of Playing with Fear. Welcome to JoBlo Horror Originals Playing with Fear, where we take a look at some of the landmark horror titles throughout the history of gaming.
Jason, Mother is talking to you!
Last time we played with the franchise, we looked at the famous, or infamous, depending on how you feel about it, Nintendo game from LJN. That one is actually better than the reputation it gets, but how about today's game? This is what a slasher game was meant to be, and shows what dedication to an IP mixed with budget and help from the original creators will get you. Friday the 13th needs no introduction. God, I hate that phrase. After being inspired by the success of Halloween, writer, director, and producer Sean S. Cunningham decided to jump back into horror as it was the genre that was being the most profitable and the most popular. It was made for only $550,000 and raked in a staggering, at least comparatively, $59.8 million. The film was incredibly popular and received mixed reviews. Shocker, I know. With revenue numbers like that, there were sure to be sequels, and boy were there ever sequels. From 1980 to 1989, we would get the original and 7 sequels. While that would slow down significantly, we would get an additional 4 movies that would include Jason Going to Hell, Going to Space, a battle with one of his slasher luminaries, and the remake treatment made so popular by 2003's Texas Chainsaw redo. Movies weren't the only medium that swept up Jason and his franchise. The series would find itself with comics, novels. I've actually read a couple. They're fun, pulpy books that really capture the essence of the films. Toys and assorted merchandise, and a small number of video games. I want to thank you guys for watching Playing with Fear, and ask that if you enjoy our shows, please subscribe to our channel right now. Like this video and click on the bell so you can be notified each time a new video goes up. And now, back to the show. Finally, after way too much time and way too many console generations had passed, we would get a tease of what was to come that, believe it or not, wasn't originally a licensed property at all. Back in 2005, a free first-person shooter was released by Alienware called Nexius? You tell me how you say that. In 2012, a company by the name of IllFonic would remake that game and get quite a lot of attention for it. 3 years after that, they would work with publisher Gun Media on the release of Breach and Clear Deadline, which would build out a good enough partnership that they would be contracted to begin work on another game. This one would have the title of Slasher Volume 1 that would take place at Camp Forest Green. Well, a short time after the announcement, they would have conversations with Sean S. Cunningham about how to best make the new video game out of the license. While the films were beloved, there wasn't a lot going on with them at the time, and there hadn't been anything in the video game realm since 1989. This would lead to his approval of the license being used, and 2 forms of financing were used. Kickstarter, which most people have heard of, would raise almost $824,000, while another service called Backlit would bring in an additional $422,000. Both of these combined services had over 30,000 people contribute, which also showed the fan community was ready to embrace a new game from the franchise. On October 13th, 2015, sadly not a Friday by the way, it was announced that Slasher Volume 1 was now transitioning into Friday the 13th, the game. The dominoes and fanfare kept rolling out as the studio recruited Harry Manfredini to do the music, Kane Hodder to perform the mocap for all of Jason's movements and build, and Tom Savini to design the kill animations. Shortly after, we would get a slew of actors from the films to step in and replay characters that we haven't seen in 30 plus years. Tom Matthews would reprise his role as Tommy Jarvis, Larry Zerner would come back as Shelley from Part 3, and we would get likenesses for Gloria Charles, who is Fox, also in Part 3, and Dick Wine to show off Roy Burns from Part 5. This was an absolute love fest from the creators to the fans, the likes of which we had never seen in the gaming world. The game would receive a digital release in May of 2017 on the PC, Xbox One, and PS4 that had the full multiplayer servers going, and then a physical release in the fall that would have the beginnings of an offline single-player mode. In August of 2019, the Nintendo Switch would get on the action with a fully loaded physical release that included all of the updates and add-ons. This edition would also come to the other consoles later. This game doesn't have a traditional story due to the nature of the game type. For those of you not in the know in the gaming world, the game is an asymmetrical multiplayer game where the entirety of the action takes place online with up to 8 players taking on different roles, including one of them being Jason. The story aspects really only affect small parts of the lore, such as which movie environment the level takes place in, or which camp counselors are running around against which Jason iteration. Even the single player aspect only has the player taking control of Jason, and the task is to complete certain types of kills certain different ways. Admittedly, this is kinda the dream for fans of the franchise, but it isn't a story, certainly not in the traditional sense. There are other lore pieces too, as there are bits of fan service called tapes that either revolve around police interviews with Pamela Voorhees, or interviews with Tommy after the events from each of the films he appeared in. The tapes need to be found in-game, but then listened to on another menu. This is the type of game where gameplay is king. The story is lost to the atmosphere, tension, and replayability, as each round can be different, and players can choose to be different counselors. Tommy Jarvis, who is completely different from the other players, or even Jason. Even as Jason, there are many different ways to play, and his different iterations come with different looks, weapons, and kills. The main goal of every match is for the counselor characters to either flee or kill Jason. Killing Jason is incredibly hard, even with Tommy Jarvis, so hiding and escaping is the main goal. As Jason, it's even more simple. Kill everyone with the voice of your mother encouraging you every step of the way. The non-Jason characters you can select are pretty varied, but you have to build up to unlock some of them. Available from the start are Chad Kensington, Jenny Myers, Kenny Rydell, Shelley Finkelstein, and Vanessa Jones. Work your way through progression system, and you can unlock a ton more. These include AJ Mason, Adam Palomino, Brandon Wilson, Deborah Kim, Eric LaChapa, Fox, Mitch Floyd, Tiffany Cox, and Victoria Sterling. What does it mean to choose these different characters? Well, there are two main reasons. One is the overall look. All of these characters are horror movie tropes, like Vanessa being the athletic girl or Chad being the preppy one. They all have their own personalities, but can all be equipped with various DLC skins that could have been bought or included with the Ultimate Edition that was released later on. The other major difference in choosing which character to be is their stats. Each character has a ranking in various traits that will help or hinder them during gameplay. Composure, luck, repair, speed, stamina, stealth, and strength all add up to what your total player equates to, and these have a lot of effects. Composure determines how afraid a player will be, as well as how long it will take them to break free from Jason. Luck is a bit of a crapshoot on what it gives you, but it has various parts of the game that will change, and not always the same things in different playthroughs. Repair is a huge one, as it will determine how long a player takes to repair essential items like the radio to call in backup, more on that backup in a minute, or how quickly you fix the escape boat or car. Speed, I would hope, is self-explanatory, but determines how fast you jog, sprint, and swim. Stamina is similar to speed, but instead of how fast you do something, it measures how long you can do a task. Stealth is how quietly you perform a task and allows you to avoid Jason for longer. Finally, strength has everything to do with combat. How powerful you are, a higher chance to stun Jason, and how quickly you can escape Jason are all factors here. Each character has a mix of these stats, except one who's maxed out on all of them. That backup we talked about. Tommy Jarvis, Tom Matthews edition, can be called in and a player that either escaped or was killed will take over as him. In single player mode, he can be summoned by the bot counselors and will come after you. In addition to being maxed out on all stats, Tommy is the only character that can kill Jason during sessions. This is not easy though, as multiple conditions must be met. First, another female counselor must put on Jason's mother's sweater that can be found in his shack. Then Jason must be stunned, his mask knocked off, and only then can Tommy deliver the killing blow. Killing Jason is one of the only ways to end the match. Kill him, escape with your life, or keep him running for 20 minutes, or if you're playing as Jason, then make sure nobody's left alive. Mother prefers it that way. Completing tasks as either counselors or Jason will earn badges and experience points. These are specific badges for either type of player and can be ranked up by doing the tasks over and over. Speaking of Jason, he is kind of the main attraction here. In single player, you are only allowed to be him, and it's kind of the dream. It's the thing we hadn't been able to do in video games up until this point, and while him appearing in Mortal Kombat was a blast, having him do his thing in a camp setting is just too fun. Much like the camp counselor characters, there are various types of Jasons that are available to you as well. You can use Part 2 or SAC Jason, Part 3, Part 4, Part 6, Part 7, Part 8, Part 9, and even fake Jason Roy Burns from Part 5. There are 2 additional ones as well. A backer exclusive, well at the time, Tom Savini original design that looks like what we would have seen had we followed Jason into hell a few years after he got dragged down there. A final suit makes an appearance that warms my heart. We get the digital upgraded version of the 1989 NES Jason to wreak havoc, and is it silly? Yes. Is it also awesome? Yes. With the different iterations of Jason comes what he's equipped with in terms of weapons and traps, and similarly with the counselors, he has stats like speed, defense, etc. to consider. I won't go over all of them, but you get to decide what is more important to you with your slasher killer and level up the ones you want. Pickaxes, standard axes, pig splitters, fence post spears, machetes, fire axes, double bit axes, boy does he like those axes, and a pitchfork can all be used by various Jasons, and that's not even including the 18 unarmed kills you start with or can unlock. There are also 27 unique kills to be performed between the weapons, and there are several downloadable kills too. Then there are the 28 environmental executions. They really gave us nearly every way to kill these dumb teens from the movie. Truly a beautiful thing. Then there are Jason's abilities. Much like the other players with their strength, repair, speed, etc., Jason has his own unique set of skills. Morph is what Jason uses to travel all over the map. It's the power he starts with and is a fun explanation of how he gets to where he gets in the films. Sense is how you can locate remaining counselors, and it turns the screen gray while Jason sees important objects in red. Yep, he goes full Predator. The next one is called Shift, and it's similar to Morph, but you go into a first-person Evil Dead perspective mode and can actively choose where to go rather than just pick a predetermined spot. The final main ability Jason has is Stalk. Stalk allows Jason to silently creep up on the other players, and they will not hear any kind of audio cue that he is near. The culmination of these powers manifests itself in Rage mode. Rage will buff out all of the other abilities and give Jason the ability to Kool-Aid Man walls and fences on his trek for bloodlust. So how does a match work? One player is chosen at random to be Jason, while the rest of the players are the meat. Jason has 20 minutes to kill everyone, and the others have that same time frame to accomplish objectives and kill Jason, hide and survive, or escape. While we've been over everything from characters to stats to weapons and traps, we haven't talked about where all this is taking place. There are 5 locations to choose from, with 3 of them having 2 sizes to choose from. You can do Camp Crystal Lake in the bigger or smaller map size, Packanack Lodge from Part 2 in a small or large setting, Higgins Village from Part 3 in either small or large, the Jarvis House from Part 4, and Pinehurst from Part 5. There was another location planned, the Grendel from Jason X, but sadly, as you'll see, the game was unexpectedly a victim of a long-standing lawsuit that seems to dog this franchise at every turn. Finally, there's a Virtual Cabin in its 2.0 sequel. It was made for backers to get a behind-the-scenes peek at what was being worked on, and to get a look at how the sausage was made, so to speak. Instead of a third-person mode, it switched to first-person, and you could interact with rooms and models, eventually leading to Jason killing you. It was discontinued, but received a sequel that would launch into the game in December of 2017. Virtual Cabin 2.0 would expand on everything from the first and include puzzles to solve, Easter eggs to find, and hints on things to come. Things that would sadly never actually come to fruition. Is Friday the 13th the game scary?
Holy shit, is that a dead body?
For a game that has very little story, yes it is. Trying to run or hide from a nearly unkillable monster is quite stressful, and trying to survive, stop, or escape for 20 minutes is frightening on many levels. Wandering the places without Jason also gives you eerie vibes as you wait for the inevitable to happen. The Virtual Cabin has a lot to do and see, but it also includes a few jump scares to go along with all that learning. A game like this gives you what you put into it. If you play the right way with headphones and the inability to chat with your fellow counselors, you will have a scary time. This one hurts. We were supposed to continue to get new content. We had Uber Jason and the ship Grendel as another location, and who knows what else could have been had we seen it come to fruition. Unfortunately, a lawsuit between screenwriter Victor Miller and director Sean S. Cunningham led to a stoppage of all content on the game. The good news is you can buy the version that is essentially a Game of the Year edition that comes packed with every piece of unlockable content and DLC that was made. While the main servers were shut down, you could still do peer-to-peer, which means seeking out your friends to battle it out at Crystal Lake is still okay. How we got a big box set and some more game content, I'll never know. Publisher Gun Media is set to release a similar style game, this time surrounding the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Not to throw shade at that franchise, but it's not like anyone has fought over the rights to that guy, so it should be okay. Jason hasn't had a movie in way too long, but has appeared in Mortal Kombat alongside his face-wearing pal and came out with a puzzle game. Yeah, a puzzle slasher. Today's game is available in that deluxe package on all current consoles and is a no-brainer to pick up. What is your favorite Friday game? What would you like to see next? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you on the next episode of Playing with Fear.